Seedance 2.0's fast API costs $0.022 per second. That's 5 times cheaper than Kling 3.0's turbo tier at CBR 112 per second. At any real production volume, that gap adds up fast. Both models just dropped major updates, so I'm comparing Kling 3.0 versus Seedance 2.0 across 5 tests to see who actually wins. But the cost gap doesn't tell the whole story, because on output quality, one of these tools does something the other literally can't do. My name is Brian, and I'm in these tools 12 hours a day, so you don't have to be. Every number in this video traces back to official pricing pages, model guides, and independent leaderboards both companies actually publish. If you're generating more than a few clips a week, picking the wrong tool could cost you hundreds of dollars a month. Test 1. Cost per second. Say you're running a small content studio, maybe 50 clips a week, each around 10 seconds. At Kling 3.0's turbo API rate of 0.4 per second, that's $56 a week just in API calls. Get that math wrong before you commit to a plan and you've burned your budget before you've shipped a single deliverable. Okay, so here's what I found. Seedance 2.0's fast API tier comes in at $0.022 per second, and Kling 3.0 turbo runs $0.112 per second. That's a pretty big spread. Now, Kling's entry subscription at $6.99 a month actually undercuts Seedance's shimming sub at $9.60, so the subscription side is closer. But community reports put Kling Pro closer to 0.28 per second with audio on, which makes the API gap even wider. Seedance 2.0 takes cost per second. The subscription tiers are closer than you'd think, but the API rate gap is just too wide. At $0.02 per second versus Kling Turbo's 0.112s, that's a 5-to-1 difference right at the API level, and that's where high volume usage actually lives. Seedance goes up on the board first, 1-0. Test 2, benchmark leaderboard. A solo creator shipping a client video on a deadline needs to know which model is actually rated higher by people who aren't selling either one. Independent ELO scores from artificial analysis are about as close to a neutral read as you'll find anywhere, and a 20-point gap on a 1,200-point scale can mean the difference between a clip that lands and one that gets sent back for revisions. What surprised me here is how close it actually is. Seedance 2.0 scores 1,069 on artificial analysis text-to-video ELO, and Kling 3.0 sits at 1,248, a 21-point gap. That's within normal noise for video models, so take it with a grain of salt. Kling does rank number 1 in the 1080p Pro category specifically, which is pretty interesting. On image to video, Seedance scores 1,351, but I couldn't find a published Kling i2V ELO to compare. Seedance 2.0 takes the leaderboard test. Its overall ELO edges Kling 3.0 on the independent rankings that matter most. Kling's 1080p Pro category win is real, but the broader ELO lead holds. That puts Seedance up 2-0 now, and Kling is still looking for its first point. Test 3, speed. The objection I keep hearing is that both tools have a fast tier, so does it even matter which one you pick? It does matter a lot when you're iterating on a 15-second clip and waiting 10 minutes per render versus 5. That's the difference between shipping 6 variations in a session or shipping 3. And at client rates, that's real time and real money. So I looked at both fast tiers, and honestly, they're not really doing the same job. Kling 3.0 Turbo generates 1 to 15 second previews at 480p or 720p, and it's press confirmed as significantly accelerated. Seedance Mini is community reported at roughly 2x faster than Seedance Fast. But no one has run both in the same harness, so I can't give you a clean side-by-side number here. The gap here is smaller than it looks on paper because the two fast tiers serve different purposes. Kling Turbo is built for quick previews before you commit to a full render, so it's basically a draft tool. Seedance Mini is a lighter weight version of the full model. They're solving slightly different workflow problems, so calling one faster than the other without that context kind of misses the point. Speed is a tie. No verified head-to-head exists, and the fast tiers aren't built for the same job, so there's no clean winner to call here. Score stays Seedance 2, Kling 0 with one test tied, and Kling really needs the next two to make this interesting. Okay, so Seedance is up 2-0 with one tie, but we haven't touched output limits or deployment modality yet, and those two tests are where Kling 3.0 has a real shot at changing the math. If native 4K matters to your workflow, or if the number of input references you can feed in one pass is a bottleneck, the next two tests could flip your decision completely. Test 4, Context and Output Limits. The day you deliver a 4K video to a client and your tool maxes out at 1080p is a bad day. You're either upscaling and hoping they don't notice, or you're explaining why you can't hit the spec they paid for. Native resolution caps are a hard ceiling, and for multi-shot scenes with more than 2 characters, the number of shots you can string together in one pass matters just as much. What I found here is a pretty clear split. Kling 3.0 goes up to native 4K at 60 FPS, while Seedance 2.0 caps at 1080p or 2K at 24 FPS. Both max out at 15 seconds per clip, so that's even. On multi-shot, Kling supports up to 6 shots with multi-character coreference for 3 or more characters. Seedance's multi-shot count isn't specified, though it does accept 9 image references, 3 video, and 3 audio inputs in a single pass, which is genuinely more flexible on the input side. Kling 3.0 takes context and output limits. Native 4K at 60 FPS versus Seedance's 1080p ceiling is a spec gap you can't paper over. Seedance's richer input references do make it competitive on the input side, but output resolution is what clients actually see. That puts Kling on the board. Seedance 2, Kling 1, 1 tied. Test 5, Deployment and Modality. The objection I hear a lot is that both tools handle text to video and image to video, so what's the real difference? The real difference shows up when you need to feed a video clip as a starting point, or when you want to drop in 9 reference images plus audio and video references all in one go. If your pipeline needs that kind of multimodal flexibility, the tool that doesn't support it just breaks your workflow. Okay, so both are genuinely multimodal, which is pretty interesting. Kling 3.0 runs a multimodal video language architecture supporting text, image, audio, and video inputs, and it handles native audio in 5 languages. Seedance 2.0 goes quad-modal, covering text to video, image to video, video to video, and frame-based input, and it accepts 9 image refs, 3 video, and 3 audio simultaneously. The one thing Kling can't do here is video to video. Seedance's language count for audio I couldn't find a verified number on. Now, the gap here is smaller than the spec sheet makes it look. Both tools handle multi-character consistency, they just do it differently. Kling uses character coreference for 3 or more characters in a scene, and Seedance uses up to 9 image references to anchor consistency across a clip. Neither approach is strictly better, and it really depends on whether you're working from a script with named characters or from a reference image library. Deployment and modality is a tie. Both tools are genuinely powerful here, and the trade-offs go in opposite directions. Kling's 5-language audio versus Seedance's video-to-video input. Neither one clearly dominates the other. Final score. Seedance 2, Kling 1, 2 tests tied. Alright, so where does Kling 3.0 clearly win? Native 4K at 60 FPS, full stop, since Seedance caps at 1080p and 24 FPS. Kling's entry subscription at $6.99 a month is cheaper than Seedance's $9.60 jiming plan. You get up to 6 shots in a multi-shot scene with 3+ character coreference built in, and native audio in 5 languages, where Seedance's language count is unverified. And where does Seedance 2.0 clearly win? The fast API at 0.022 per second versus Kling Turbo's 0.112 is a roughly 5-to-1 cost difference, and at scale that's the biggest number in this whole comparison. Seedance's overall artificial analysis ELO is 1,269 versus Kling's 1,248. It accepts 9 image references plus 3 video plus 3 audio in one pass, and it supports video-to-video input, which Kling simply doesn't have. I went in thinking Kling would dominate on quality and Seedance would just be the budget pick, but the data is way more nuanced than that. So here's the decision rule. If you need native 4K output, multi-character scenes, or a cheaper entry subscription, go Kling 3.0. If you're running API-heavy workflows where that 5 times cheaper rate at 0.022 per second adds up fast, or you need video-to-video input and cinematic storytelling, go Seedance 2.0. That API rate is the number that decides it. If the cost per second question got you thinking about where AI tools actually stack up on price versus performance, I ran the same kind of breakdown on 2 coding tools. Check out Windsurf versus Cursor and see if the cheaper option actually holds up when you're literally hammering it with real tasks.